Everybody who's alive desires enjoyment and pleasant experiences and avoids suffering and pain. However, most people are unsuccessful in this endeavor. And the reason why they are unable to avoid suffering is because they don't know what the cause of their suffering is. So, in this video, I'm going to be discussing the cause of suffering, or one of the causes at least. And essentially, the reason why you suffer is because you take this reality seriously. You think that life is serious when actually it isn't. It's actually just a cosmic joke. There's nothing serious about life. Although there are certain situations which should be taken seriously to some degree. Life in general isn't serious. And if you take it too serious, then you will suffer the consequences of that misperception. So why do you take this reality seriously? You take this reality seriously because you believe that there is something on the line. You believe that there is something to gain and that there is something to lose. You believe that it's possible to win and that it's possible to lose. You believe that it's possible to be a success and also possible to be a failure. When you believe all of these things, then you believe that you must be a success, not a failure. You must win, not lose. You must gain, not lose, etc., etc. And when these assumptions are taken as absolutes in your mind, which they are, then you have no choice but to take life seriously, and then that leads to suffering because life isn't serious and isn't meant to be taken seriously. Um, one has to realize that life isn't substantial. It's a zero sum and a zero player game. Many people have realized that life is a zero sum game. However, they misunderstand and misinterpret what that means, or not what that means, but they they miscalculate how they must act accordingly as a result of that truth. They believe that since life is a zero sum game, that they must be even more greedy, they must be even more cutthroat, they need to undermine others, they need to essentially climb to the top on the bodies of everyone else. So they essentially believe that, okay, it's a zero sum game, but they still have all those assumptions which I explained earlier, that they need to win, they need to gain, etc., etc. So they think, okay, if it's a zero sum game and I need to win and I need to gain, then I need to make my opponents, who are just other people, I need to make others lose, and I need to make them fail so that I can win and I can gain, because there's no other way if you look at it that way. But again, it is a zero sum game, but there isn't really the misunderstanding is really that there's not actually such a thing as losing or winning or gaining, etc. There's nothing of substance to pursue or attain. Everything that you're chasing is really just an idea. It's just an idea of something. Your idea of success, your idea of wealth, your idea of fulfillment. But the idea of fulfillment and the idea of wealth, etc., are not actually wealth and fulfillment themselves, right? They're just ideas. And the problem is that you get caught up in the moment and you forget that your idea of the thing isn't actually the thing. And so you actually mistake the idea of success for success itself. And then no matter what you actually end up doing in the world, no matter how many successes you have, you won't feel fulfilled because you're chasing an idea, and an idea can never be caught because it doesn't even have substance. Do you understand? You're chasing a ghost. It's like the more you run towards it, the more it's running ahead of you. So you can never catch it. So ultimately, what needs to be realized is that there is actually nothing to attain. There is nothing to lose. You came here with nothing. You're going to leave with nothing. All that there is the present moment. And you can't gain the present moment because you are already in the present, and you can't lose the present moment either because it's just eternal. How could you lose the present moment? Like, where else is there? Where else could you be but here? Where else could you? When else could you be but now? In the modern world, we are caught up in this mindset of getting things, having things, and owning things. Again, this is just another concept. What even is owning something? Ownership doesn't even exist. It's just a concept. It's just an idea that has been agreed upon in a consensus with everyone else. We come together collectively and agree that this idea isn't an idea, but it's reality. Right? So you might sign a piece of paper and then you might like send some money, some money to some account, which is just digits on a screen, information, data bytes, ones and zeros. You send that, and then now we say you own that house, or we say you own this phone, but someone could take this phone from you at any moment. That money in your account can be taken at any moment. Any single possession you have, which you have or you own, can be taken at any moment. it would be more accurate to say that like you're leasing. You're only borrowing and leasing. Because ownership implies like that your possession is indefinite. But you can't possess anything indefinitely. That's impossible. Whereas renting and leasing and so on implies that you possess it for now, but eventually you will no longer possess it. And that's true for your house, all your possessions, and even your body, because you'll die and you have to let go of that as well. So again, you just have to realize that there's nothing to gain and there's nothing to lose. There's no such thing as winning and losing, success, being a success or being a failure. These are just ideas and concepts. And what one person may think is a success may be a failure to someone else, depending on what metrics they're using. You see, this is all relative. And if you see it as relative, then there's no problem. But the problem is you're treating the relative as absolute. That's the problem. You don't see the relative as being relative. You think that the relative is absolutely the way that it is, but it only seems that way to you because of the current metrics that you are using. And if you change the metrics that you were using to measure, then you would get a different result. So once you realize that there is actually nothing on the line, even your life isn't on the line because your life isn't yours. Life isn't. You take life to be personal, but it's neither personal nor impersonal. Life belongs to no one. It belongs to no one in particular and nothing in particular. And you're just leasing life. You're alive for now. You may be dead tomorrow. And once you realize these things, not on an intellectual level, but on the visceral level, then you will no longer take life seriously and you will no longer suffer. Physical pain is inevitable, but even physical pain, for someone who has realized the things which I've discussed in this video at a visceral level, not just an intellectual level, because that won't really help that much, but on a visceral level, once they've realized that physical pain will of course be painful to them, but it won't be as painful as to someone else who takes life seriously, because someone who takes life seriously and who hasn't realized these things will unconsciously be magnifying and exaggerating the pain that they are experiencing, which is causing greater suffering to themselves. And they're doing this through resisting the pain, through believing that they're not realizing that this pain is inevitable and unavoidable. They believe that there could be a reality, some kind of utopia where there is no pain at all. They believe that if they had just chosen something else or taken a different path, then they could have avoided that pain. And all of this kind of thinking leads to victim mentality, and it just causes them to magnify their experience of pain and create suffering for themselves. And all the while, they are not aware that they are the ones who are causing suffering for themselves. They believe that it's just the way that it is. So I hope that video helps. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Talk to you soon.